Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Top MMO Debates, where we take two games, two MMOs, and make them have battle with each other. I am Mithal with TGN, and with me today is another director. Please introduce yourself, sir.
Hey guys, welcome to LoudsCast with TGN.TV. I'm really excited to be working with this project here. Basically, the plan is we're going to go through two of the top MMOs at the minute, and we're going to debate all sorts of certain aspects about them. And the MMOs we're going to be covering at the minute is going to be Rift versus World of Warcraft. And the topics that we plan to cover throughout this series, we're going to start with episode 1 here. We're going to go through character creation and customization and character leveling. The second episode will then be PvE dungeons and raiding. We'll then move on to PvP battlegrounds and world PvP, professions and crafting, background and lore, and graphics and UI. So we're going to have a lot of discussion, a lot of debate about these two games in terms of that.
Sounds absolutely awesome. Why don't we jump in right into the battle? Rift versus World of Warcraft. Character creation.
Yeah, I've always loved the character creation in World of Warcraft. That it's been a system that's worked. You pick your faction, alliance, or horde. You pick your race and you pick your character class. It's really simple. There's information there on what to do. There's a bit of customization that you can do as well. From a Rift perspective, I'm not entirely sure. So if you want to go ahead on that.
Yes. To elaborate on that one, it is mostly like World of Warcraft, possibly a bit more detailed. Again, you pick your faction, you pick your race, you pick one of the four archetypes you have: cleric, mage, warrior, and rogue. And then you go into your character customization. Now, obviously, having played both World of Warcraft and Rift, I can probably state that the actual customization of your character in terms of appearance, so the thing you do at the creation thing, is a lot more elaborate than World of Warcraft. It is, if you have played Oblivion, it is close to that. Probably a bit less, but very much close to that. You can mess around with a lot of stuff on your character face, whatever.
Okay, the issue I have with that though is in Rift, it's not like World of Warcraft where at the top end level everyone's going to be wearing pretty much the same gear anyway, so it's not going to really matter what your character looks like, or in terms of that, or is it a case of it's not the case in Rift though?
Well, obviously. Well, I mean, the character customization in terms of appearance never really appealed to me to actually go and play MMO, but it seems to be quite an important subject for other people. But no, if you actually wear a helmet over your face, obviously you can't really see all the nifty chin, second chins you've adapted to your nice little elf there. No.
Okay, yeah, I mean in terms of character creation. I think that in terms of the negative side on WoW, this is just from my personal experience of playing the game for 5 or 6 years now. There's a lot of choice there, but the one thing that is lacking, and Blizzard have kind of admitted this, they tried to do it with the Death Knight hero class being added. There's a lack of tanking classes in the game. Is that something similar in Rift, or in WoW you've got a choice of warrior, paladin, druid, or death knight as a tanking class, and that's pretty much it. And even those classes, only one of those talent trees is for tanking. Is there a specific tanking class in Rift or anything like that?
The basic gist of it in Rift is that you have those four archetypes I've told you about before. You have the warrior, we have the cleric, we have the mage, we have the rogue. 3 of those can tank. There are, well, obviously the warrior is the main tanking spec. I believe there are 3 or 4 souls, which are your talent trees in World of Warcraft.
Right.
And there are 8 to 9 souls per archetype. So you can pick between these and put 3 of them into your talent trees, right? So you can pick 3 out of the 8 and put them into your talent tree. The 9th is actually a PvP specific soul, which adds a few PvP specific abilities, but that doesn't really matter right now. So the warrior has 3 or 4, I believe 3. The rogue has 1 and the cleric has 1, but the cleric and rogue actually make for pretty viable tanks, even though they only have 1 tanking soul. So yeah, basically I have 3 archetypes that can tank. Every single one can DPS. And every single one except for the warrior can heal.
Okay, that's interesting because again, I was going to say perhaps one of the issues that World of Warcraft has, even though it's not something I notice as much because I do actually play a tank, is the lack of sort of healing options in World of Warcraft. There is the sort of choice there, but it seems that Rift does have a bit more sort of choice in terms of healing. But would I be right in saying it has less choice in terms of tanking?
Well, basically, if you pick everything except a mage, you have the choice to tank. And
Wow.
if you
Okay.
pick everything except a warrior, you have the choice to heal, and you always have the choice to DPS. So, in that regard, it is, well, what you want later in the game is definitely more viable. You don't have to pick your archetype judging on whether it can tank or heal or DPS. So, for new
Okay.
players, it is possibly a bit more acceptable to actually jump into it.
Yeah, definitely. That sounds like I know that Rift is sort of the new big contender here for WoW, and that has definitely been seen, and that looks like to be something that they picked up on in World of Warcraft and gone, well, maybe we should have more options for tanking and healing, and they've taken that sort of route there. Do you get racial abilities in Rift like you get in World of Warcraft?
To some lesser extent, I believe back when I played base that they actually had these massive buffs for different races. So race 1 would get like plus 15 agility, race 2 would get plus 15 strength. They have neglected that. The only thing you have race specifically is now the one can run about 50% faster for 5 seconds, the other one can fall a bit further, and the third one can, I believe, make a jump, which is 3 yards away or something. It doesn't really make them that much different. The racials in World of Warcraft are definitely more elaborate than those in Rift.
Yeah, I go as far as to say that they're better in that, and that's something that has been there since vanilla, which they've kept and even say improved on in certain aspects with character racials. So it's getting to the point now where certain character builds require you to be a certain race. For example, humans get the free PvP trinket, for example, because they have that ability, which is essentially the same as the PvP trinket. You got orcs with Blood Fury, which is just awesome for a DPS increase. And it does get to the point where if you're going to be a serious competitive player in WoW, you've really got to consider what race you're going to play with your character. And unfortunately, unless you go looking on things like TGN World of Warcraft, MMO Champion, those sort of websites, if you're a new player to the game, you might just go, well, I like the look of the Orc, for example, and I want to play a healer, but that Blood Fury racial is going to be completely wasted upon you, I believe, because it only affects your DPS. Someone will correct me if I'm wrong there, but I'm pretty sure that it only increases your DPS. It doesn't affect healing in any sort of way. So perhaps that is something that Blizzard should incorporate into the game. But yes, I do think in terms of racials, perhaps World of Warcraft is stronger than Rift. So I think we're at 1-1 at the minute, really, because you've got more options for tanking and healing in Rift. Whereas WoW, you've got sort of better racials. I think that's pretty much everything we can cover on character creation and customization, unless there's anything you'd like to add.
Nope, that will be all. That should be enough. Cool.
Okay, so we're going to move on now to character leveling within the games itself. Your sort of progression that you do in Rift and World of Warcraft. How does that sort of work in Rift then? I know a lot on how it works in WoW. Is it similar? Or?
Oh, the leveling bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically it is very much like in World of Warcraft, and possibly mostly respected to. If you remember I'm not sure if you played through Deep Down Vanilla.
I did, yeah.
Okay, so it's basically that. So it's the basic gist of grindy, kill X amount of mobs, collect X amount of items, do these quests. In terms of questing, they haven't really elaborated on the world as much as, say, Cataclysm did. So
Yeah.
it's basically quests, some instances, killing mobs obviously gets you some exploration, gives you XP, and that's how you level up.
Okay. I mean, obviously, World of Warcraft is going to have a lot more sort of lore and background than Rift, because obviously the Warcraft games came before World of Warcraft, and there was a lot of backstory and everything sort of surrounding that. And in another episode, we will be covering completely background and lore. But during Cataclysm, they realised that the questing content wasn't as good as it sort of could have been. it really did at times feel like a grind, like go kill 20, 20 of this mob, 20 of that mob, go getting a drop, like with a 5% drop chance, and it's not fun. No one enjoys those sort of quests, so during Cataclysm that they completely reforged Azeroth, and it was a big thing in all their marketing and press releases that, Azeroth reforged, we've added loads of new quests, and we brought all the quests sort of up to speed. We've got rid of all those dull, boring grind quests, and that sort of thing. And I actually started leveling a Goblin Rogue when Cataclysm came out to see the sort of changes that have been put into the game. And I've got to say that they made the whole leveling experience a lot more enjoyable. Would I enjoy it the second or third time through? Perhaps not, because it would feel kind of the same unless I went to the different zones and that sort of thing. So, in terms of sort of what I like to term as sort of fun quests, which are like, chain quests, you're going up, you feel like you're affecting the world, like World of Warcraft, for example, uses phasing techniques to make you feel like you're achieving something. Does Rift do anything like that?
They haven't gone into phasing yet. Now, what the major gist is of Rift, obviously, is what the name of the game is Rift. The thing that makes Rift leveling fun is that if you're in your little quest area and suddenly out of nowhere there pops this huge elemental rift above your head with all sorts of mobs popping out and people swarming to you, getting into a public group, a la Warhammer Online public quest, that is basically what gets the fun in the leveling in Rift.
Oh, that sounds quite interesting. I mean, I know that perhaps I'd even go as far to say maybe Blizzard heard of this because before Cataclysm came out, they had the elemental attacks on the cities, which when you defeated the elementals, you unlocked certain dungeon bosses to go and do once you defeated them in the major cities. So that does sound quite similar, and it was something that they tried, but not a lot of people liked because it was the fact of, well, I'm in Orgrimmar or wherever, and I'm at the auction house and all of a sudden I'm being attacked by all these elementals. What's going on, sort of thing, But it might be something that they may do again in the future. I mean, it does sound to me like it does work really well in Rift, and that does sound quite interesting. So, say for example in Rift, I'm questing along, one of these rifts would open, all these monsters would come out, and then we'd have to fight them off. Am I right in thinking that?
Yeah, basically you have these 3 stages of rifting, as you would call it, while leveling. Stage 1 would be a normal rift, so like you said, you're questing in an area, and suddenly you look on your map and you see a rift nearby. So you go there, because rifting is mostly a nice experience. It doesn't really gives you all right loot for the rest of the zone, so there's no reason not to go there. You go in there, there's probably one person already there, or a few persons, or you're alone. You can fight off the rifts. The rifts actually skill up the more people there are. So if you're fighting it with 10, then obviously it's a bit more difficult. So that's stage 1. Stage 2 is much more interesting, because what happens then is that the entire zone gets invaded by a plane. So, for example, water rifts start appearing. So the entire zone is covered in about 30 water rifts. All these invasions running around, major big bosses running around. The only problem I have with these bosses is that they're basically big beasts with about 1 ability and a lot of health, which is a shame. But you can't really program that many bosses, I suppose.
I mean, I love the way that Azeroth's been reforged. That graphics have been updated, everything like that. But the disappointing thing for me, though, was the fact that you're doing your quest level 1 to 58 in Azeroth, and it's all looking good and great and that sort of thing. Then you go into Burning Crusades, you go into Outlands, and you just get hit by this sort of bit of nostalgia, I'd say, negative nostalgia that, oh, this is going back to the old grind of vanilla, and I felt the same in when you're questing through the zones 70 to 80 in Wrath of the Lich King as well. So it's a bit of a disappointment to have the way that they've done all these great quest chains, all this great phasing and everything, and then suddenly bang, you hit back with the old vanilla sort of style of questing. Less so in Wrath, but I notice it a lot in TBC. For example, I was leveling a paladin up, and and I was really enjoying the quest in Azeroth and that sort of thing. And then I got to Outland and I'm like, oh, I can't be bothered to level now. So perhaps that is something that Blizzard should look to do, I'd say, update the Outlands content to the same level that they've done Azeroth to.
True. Well, it depends all on choice. I mean, if you were a company, so my question to you is, say you were Blizzard, you were the head CEO of Blizzard, and you had a choice. Either you're going to revive the entirety of Outland and Northrend, say, or you're going to do the next expansion, but at the start you're going to have 3 more raid instances. Which choice would you make?
I'd take the one to do the raid instances, because I know that's what the vast majority of PvPers are going to do. Though that they're gonna the problem that Blizzard has, and this is something that they've admitted, they've got 10 million people to try and keep happy. Not an easy task at all, So they are going to make decisions, and this, that, and the other, that are going to affect a certain proportion of the subscriber base, no matter what they do. And I can understand that Rift is going to have a similar sort of issue, and is going to have to deal with that once the game grows. I mean, it has already taken off really, really well, I'd say. I don't play Rift personally, but I've seen it just take off to be such a serious competitor for WoW, I'd say. It's even made a noticeable small dent in WoW's subscriber base already, and I think that is something that's going to grow. And competition is good, because it's going to make Blizzard look to do more, to improve WoW, to compete with it. They've never really had anything to compete with previously. There was Guild Wars, but it was nothing compared to WoW. There's various other MMOs which basically just got dubbed World of Warcraft clones, which I won't call Rift. By the way, I know that term gets thrown around a ton, but I don't see Rift as a WoW clone, and that is why it has become, I'd say, a competitor for World of Warcraft.
Well, the thing is with Rift is that obviously if you've had people playing, that was my own thing here. I was playing the game for almost 6 years, with a few breaks in between, but it just didn't appeal to me as much anymore. And it's partly burnout, and the other part is the decisions Blizzard has made since I believe TBC. Still think TBC was the best raids I've ever done in my entire life.
Yeah, I agree.
And I had so much fun doing those, and I was a bit young, I had a bit more time back then, but I was just looking forward to the night of raiding every single minute of the day, and when I was raiding in Cataclysm shortly, I just thought, man, it didn't appeal to me as much as TBC, so I thought, well, am I having still fun in this after 5 years, and after such a burnout? It's just, wow. And,
just to wrap up the character leveling quickly, do things like heirloom gear exist within Rift? Because that is something that got added in World of Warcraft in Wrath of the Lich King, and made such a difference to people, because they were getting the XP boost, they had the stat boost, they could clear mobs quicker, they could level up quicker, and now obviously with the guild perks as well, you get increased XP on mobs and that sort of thing. Is that something that currently exists within Rift?
Although I must say I'm not entirely sure, but I'm quite sure that it doesn't exist at this point. The only thing you have buying on account at this point are mostly vanity items, like special pets and that sort of stuff.
Okay, so that's something that WoW's got that Rift hasn't got, but Rift will probably implement that in the future when they do have a lot more sort of, I don't even know, a lot more sort of high-level characters and that sort of thing for people to level alts, I'm presuming. And I think that's pretty much it on character creation and customization and character leveling for episode 1.
Absolutely. Let's close this one off.
Okay, well guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the show, you want to see more episodes, more MMO debates, please post a positive comment. Leave your feedback. I personally read every comment everyone posts. Constructive criticism, always welcome. Thumb up this video if you liked it, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, guys.
See you next time, guys. See you around.